G'day everybody, Antipeter1M here. We'll talk about the idea that our society is a patchwork society. Patchwork is a word that I chose because it's an indication that society is fragmented and needs to be patched up, like some kind of body that's been broken apart but needs to be put back together again, but will never fully be put back together again properly. So we have a lot of makeshift solutions. We have people proposing to do this or do that. And obviously a lot of people trying to get by and survive and possibly even thrive, depending on how privileged you are. So in our capitalist society, where I live in Australia in particular, we live on the idea that money will make you happier. And this is partially true. Money can guarantee security against you being impoverished and living in decrepit conditions. But people are very irresponsible with money most of the time, and when they have a lot of it, they will spend. So that's over-consumerism. So we have a few problems here. One is that some people don't have enough money, and another is that some people have too much of it. So the equality dynamic is always at risk in a world of capitalist systems. And of course, advertising is a huge distraction from just being a real person. So people want you to get rich. They think that you can live your own life, have a lifestyle of travel and using your laptop to make money, that sort of thing. We're constantly bombarded by messages about how to get rich quickly. There's a saying that I invented to describe capitalism, and that is, everyone trying really hard to have a good time. Everyone trying really hard to have a good time. I think that accurately describes capitalism really well, because when people present themselves as businesses or whoever they are, they have to put on a facade, and that facade is often fake and trying to sell you something and tell you that this is going to be the solution to all of your problems. So it's a very consumer-oriented sort of system. If we didn't have kind, compassionate people, if we didn't have people who volunteered, and if we didn't have, the younger generation, which is like a double-edged sword, then the world would be much more selfish than it is at the moment. But because there are people struggling at the bottom, because it's a Ponzi scheme and people are struggling, you can see the humanity behind that. You can see the real struggles of people, and you can see that capitalism itself is a facade and it's a farce in so many ways. Another way of looking at capitalism is to say that it's a focus on the experiential rather than the existential, for those who are the most privileged at least. I have a friend who has a lot of money and uses that money to spend on experiences such as skydiving or foot massages or trips to elsewhere, that sort of thing. And obviously he generates a lot of income that way as well, through encouraging people to join him, etc. Also, of course, this capitalist mindset is reinforced by the provision of our sexual fantasies, or provision for our sexual fantasies. So we have a lot of sexy people on social media, sporting themselves, trying to get as many likes as possible. And that in itself encourages Ponzi schemes like capitalism to ensue, because we are constantly pursuing these ideals of absolute heavenliness and glory and fantasy. Now, I'm not saying that's a completely bad thing. I think there's pros and cons, but I will say that by and large, people are pursuing things which they will never have. Now, my apartment renovations are a good example of patchworking at play. My apartment was renovated, the kitchenette was renovated, and I did some videos on that which I can link, but it's a pretty shoddy job, and I hope it's going to stay together. And I think it's an idea that we can make something, we can do something, put it in, but there's no guarantees that it's going to be really robust and stuff. And in fact, even though I paid $16,000 for my renovation, it may well fall apart. I don't know how long it's going to last. So you don't know who you can trust in this world, in this society. You don't know how good the job is going to be, and things, when you dispute things, it takes a lot of time, etc., etc. So I volunteer for my apartment building's body corporate committee, and one of the things that I have to do is deal with all the issues that come through. And there are a lot of things that require maintenance, cleaning, repair, funding, and reconciliation, with legal reconciliation especially. So our society is built upon having to deal with the issues, but often not dealing with all of them, because there's not enough time in a day, pretty much, and people can't be bothered, etc. So my life is pretty low-key compared to most other people's, even though I have a vivid imagination. I do a lot of writing, etc., and animal artivism, that sort of thing. But my life is just a matter of getting by every day and seeing what will pan out. That's my existential sort of life. And I think possibly we should be content with that. I think that we should be content with having a life where we're not impacting on people, causing waste, pollution, excessive consumption, and making people unhappy where we make ourselves happier. I think if we retain our sanity and our sense of reason in that way, things will be better. And I think my father, for example, has taught me some of those precepts of just being content and getting things 7 out of 10, rather than insisting on a life which is lavish and luxurious and full of things which are pretty worthless but make us happy for a short amount of time. So in organizing my files on my computer, for example, I have a lot of files now, and I will never get to the bottom of all the ideas that I've generated because there are so many of them. And it's a matter of picking and choosing and being very selective in how I spend my time, my effort, and how I select my ideas to write about and develop as a writer, for example, and also as an administrator for my own things and my own things to do. So if I come across a new website, I have to vet very carefully whether it's a good thing or a bad thing and decide on those merits whether to pursue that further. I'm going to introduce you to someone in my so-called family, my newest friend or family member. We went to the Brisbane Thrill Fest, which was quite an interesting miniature version of the Royal Show or Royal or Fair, you might call it. And I won a compensation prize at a game that I played, and this is the prize here. His name is Noam Chomsky. Chomsky as in chomp chomp chomp, he likes to eat. And obviously the American social commentator Noam Chomsky is the person that I named him after, as well as my most gracious support worker Noan, Noan, whose company was much appreciated on Saturday. So here's Noam Chomsky, and I will talk more about pigs and their plight, because we're not only dealing with a system for humans, but also a lot of animals bred for human profiteering, which is something which is maddening, to be honest. So I did a TikTok video on Noam, and I'll link that in the description, and you can visit that as well if you have access to TikTok. All right, folks, that's my update for today, and I will see you next time with much more news. Bye for now.